You tuned in for another Fear the Talking Heads. I have Brandon with me today. This is, a rare gem of a guest co-host on my show. So this is awesome. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on so we can talk about Dana Kimmel in Friday the 13th, part three. Are you
Oh,
excited?
thank you for having me. Oh,
Yeah.
you have no idea. Like that was like if anybody saw my hint post for that week, like the unicorn playing Yahtzee. Yeah, I've been wanting to book her forever. It just so happened, like I went up and met her at Monster Mania. I got to talk to her, know her folks really well, and we finally made it happen. It's been in the works for a long time. I offered her my firstborn, uh, you know, three calves. And yeah, if you're a huge Friday fan, there's always two people that everyone talks about. And it's Dana because she hadn't been on, at a show for, many moons. And then Jennifer Cook from part six. And she just does not do them. And so those are always two people that if you're an avid Friday fan, they always come into the conversation.
I didn't know that they were originally wanting Ginny to reprise her role in this one where she's in a mental institution and Jason tracks her down and is like murdering his way through the institution to get to her. And I'm like, well, that kind of seems a lot like Halloween. So I don't know that that would have flown well, but I'm glad that it went to Dana
It,
Kimmel.
it was some sort of story arc where they wanted Amy Steele to come back and then Amy wouldn't do it. And so then they adjusted it. But one thing they kept was that they wanted, and this is part of her backstory where she runs into Jason when she's younger, is they wanted the trauma to exist for the storyline that they were going to do. And so
Yeah.
that's how they did it, like Steve Miner and all them. Like that's the arc that they were going with. I think what turned out a lot better, and especially with the 3D on it, I can't imagine like that different storyline after watching, part three. It's my favorite part. That
Yeah.
a lot of people differentiate on like their favorite ones. And for me, the first one I watched was part eight. So I've got a
No,
love of eight.
really? Okay.
Yeah. People crap on it sometimes. I love part eight. It was the first one I ever watched. And then I started watching them in succession, one, two, three, four. And I got to three and I just loved it. It was my favorite one out of the first batch. And it partly because of like Dana. I thought she was a really good final lady. I love the character of Larry Zerner in it because like he reminded me of me. For some odd reason, like that stuck with me. And it was also, like you had the first hockey mask and all that. Like to me, part three was like kind of the grail of the original, like old school stuff.
I think I've told you before, three is my most watchable one because it's campy and it's fun. And then 2009, the reboot, I feel like it's the scariest one of the bunch.
Like a lot of the movies that I love the most, I miss the theater option.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love like trying to like have those movies in theaters at Scarefest and stuff if we can work it out. A lot of times you run into like riots and buying the films and stuff like that. But I always felt left out that I didn't get to experience Friday 3 in the theater in full 3D. My mom did. I didn't let her know that I had gotten Dana until, halfway through the week. And she had always told me the story about when she's watching the movie, she was in the theater watching it and it was 3D. And that part where Paul's eye comes out and comes flying out, that there was a lady in there that like just threw her popcorn up, freaked out, spazzed out, started running around, and was like, "Oh my God, it's in my popcorn! It's in my popcorn!" And I mean, this was like what 80, what 82, 81,
Yeah.
something like that. And like 3D, I don't think was common back then. And so like, yeah,
Oh
I love
no.
I love watching it on like regular, just watching it now without the 3D stuff and seeing like how they filmed everything. Like, but you see it like come back up to the screen and back, like
And the
and
laundry,
like
the
Paul's eye
laundry,
popping
yeah.
out. Yeah, like
So
all that stuff.
funny thing about that part with Paul, my mom went to see it. She said she took her glasses off and she was cleaning her glasses. She goes to put their glasses back on and the eyeball is flying right at her. Just like the
Yeah,
perfect timing.
I mean, to me, like the 3D, the soundtrack to it, I liked that it was like, I think Manfredini did, yeah, he did three. And so like all like the kind of digitized like 80s thing that was going on with it. And you've got like all the 3D stuff. To me, it was just like a pinnacle of like 80s horror nostalgia. Like that's why I love it so much. And that's why if I could get it in a theater as 3D and we redo the whole thing. I almost did it when we had Larry and all them. Like I was trying my best to do it. And it makes me want to kind of revisit this year. But like to actually have a 3D experience with it in the theater, it would make my dreams come true if
Oh,
it's
that would be
possible.
amazing. Some people have a sensitivity with their eyes. I don't know if it's like a stigmatism or what it is, but some people
Stigmatism makes
can't.
it worse. Because
Yeah,
like
I think
I mean,
that's
look at me. I've been born permanent nerd vision. And like that was the thing that was really good about Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, was the whole thing. Like you didn't have to put them on. Like it was all schemed around. Like she's like, put on the glasses, and so at the end of it, you put on the glasses, and so you didn't have to watch the entire thing. With those things like waiting to pop out. But back in the day, like with three, you just had these comminglings of the 3D aspects like mingled in without around the movie, and so you had to keep them on like the whole time, or else you
oh
would miss
yeah.
something.
He actually wasn't a trained actor. He was actually found on the street handing out flyers and they just liked his look or whatever. And
Yeah, I actually Larry's been to the show. I've talked to him a few times. He's really cool guy. Like he's an entertainment lawyer now. And yeah, he that was his thing. Like they found him on the street. They brought him in to do it, and then he's ended up being like long term entertainment lawyer. He was in the video game Friday the 13th that Gunn did. They redid his stuff. He actually works a lot on the back end, even though you may not have seen him in a lot of like horror movies. He's been on the back end. He does the entertainment lawyer stuff. When we had Larry at the show, so we had four of the cast members, and there had been a part three reunion at a HorrorCon, and I hadn't seen one in a long time. And a guy brought down like the Volkswagen door from the movie and had them all sign it. And then like Larry got it, was like holding it up, and like they were like looking through the window on the side of it. But he walked in with a freaking Volkswagen Beetle door.
oh my
Like we
gosh.
didn't know exactly what was going on, but yeah,
Yeah, that's unique.
that was one of my favorites. Like that was the most memorable. But yeah, some of the guys like Tracy Savage that we had that year, and all those guys, like they hadn't been at a reunion show, I don't think, in a very long time. And since then, I've only seen one place do it, and I think that was Indianapolis. And they had one extra person than us, and that was Paul. Because
Okay.
Paul like lives in Fiji or something. And I need him on my one sheet. I'm just saying. There's a few people that are out there in part three that we haven't had. Paul would be one of them, which I would really like. Mike DeLuna, who
Okay.
actually was the stunt guy that actually put on the hockey mask. Like
For the hang part.
he's the stunt man that shoots the spear gun at Catherine Parks.
That was what made me really like Richard Brooker. I feel like he's one of the best in that role of
Oh,
Jason.
oh no, without a doubt. I liked part one and two. I was glad that they left. So like part two, like when you have like the pillowcase thing,
Yeah.
like
Potato sack Jason.
yeah, I love part two. I was glad that they went with that, and I think it was just out of like I don't think it was planned or like any type of thing like that. Like from what I've heard and talking to folks, like somebody just had something laying around, and that's what they went with.
The stunt coordinator supervisor or something, an avid hockey fan, so he always had stuff with him. They were just trying on the goalie hockey mask for Red Wings, I think. And so they were like, actually, we like this look. So we're going to remold it so that it fits him nice and voila.
Yeah, I
History
was just trying to figure
expands.
out like while Larry Zerner like Shelley had an entire like wetsuit, a spear gun,
So random.
and the hockey mask thing. And I'm just like, I'm not going to think about it too much. The only thing I kept thinking, like the first time I watched part two, was that we've all done that thing where, you go as a ghost for Halloween and you have the sheets and then everything. And like, you just can't see out the damn thing.
Well, I guess Richard Brooker used to take naps in the barn when they had a little bit of a break. Because I mean, I imagine it's long days on set. So he would take a nap and then people stopped going in there because someone walked in and got freaked out seeing him in full makeup laying in the barn.
Oh, yeah. I see. I never got to meet him. and there's a few people like I never got to meet him or Steve Dash, but there's other people that played that role throughout part three, and so when you look at it, trying to find some of those guys like the stunt people that were involved in the film, it creates a good photo op because like they did step in. It's kind of like Jason and Freddy versus Jason. Like there was a few different stunt coordinators that were in that
Yeah.
role, and then you had like rest in peace Bob Elmore. In Chainsaw, you had him and Bill Johnson like playing like different parts of the movie, and so you get that a lot with some of the horror movies and the stunt people, and so trying to bring all those folks in, it doesn't. If you're a real hardcore fan like I am, I love stunt coordinators and special effects guys and like all that. So bringing those guys in is always a fun time.
Well, the stunt guy Bill from Monster Squad, I think that was kind of a cool addition, what you did there too, because stunt guys have really good stories too to share. I'm thinking
Oh, the stunt guy.
panels.
Oh no, the
Yeah,
stunt guys and the special effects guys. Every year, that's why we've tried to book more of those guys too, because like the stories are insane. I get lucky a lot of times because I don't get to go to panels very much, and Joe does a great job. So I
yeah,
usually have to watch like Joe and them in the aftermath, like a video or talking to folks that went to the panel. And Joe does an amazing job.
yeah.
And I would take the Pepsi challenge with him over a lot of different shows that I go to.
I've been to panels. I'm not going to name names on where it was, but I've been to panels where it just wasn't exciting. And it just was like, wah, wah, wah.
I've been to some shows and some panels that I don't want to say disappointed, but like you leave knowing that the conversation could have been a little bit
Yeah,
deeper,
yeah.
and it's just kind of missed opportunity a lot of times. I think Joe is really good. I don't get to do photo ops very often either, which sucks because like you spend like all year like making these things happen, but you don't always get to partake in them. We have a green room. And so I'll go in there and get coffee and I'll sit down, like take a break in there and drink some coffee. And then just random people will come walking in. You know, I'm just like, oh, hey, hey, I'm the show owner, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I've always wondered about this. And so I just get like a conversation or a question
Yeah.
in sometimes. And like, it's always met with like a big story afterwards. And a lot of those guys are just so nice to talk to. God, Dick Warlock is probably my favorite. A lot of things about stunt people is like they've been in movies that you didn't even think about. A lot of people don't think about Dick Warlock being in Jaws. So yeah, you just as you get to talking to them, like a lot of times, like they just tell you stories about like these big, huge blockbusters that you may have not thought about, or like their interactions with Kurt Russell or what have you. Like stunt people and FX people are always fun. You should always, if you're at a show and you see someone that's like fits that bill, go up, get their autograph, and just start talking to them because you will not be disappointed. When you walk past someone at a show, unless like you've researched or you're an uber nerd like me, like you may not be sure what they were in. Some of the stunt coordinators I've seen have actually brought their gags and their rigs like to the show and like laid them on the table, like the reverse
Oh, that's
bear
cool.
trap from Saw, and you just walk past it and you're like, oh my God, I may not recognize that guy, but you'll recognize his work.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
that's always why I like love Fangoria because like Fangoria when I was growing up, that's how I read about all the special effects stuff. And you knew who was like kind of doing what. So if I run it, like if I see a name announced to a show in special effects, like I can always tie it back in, like a Fangoria issue I read.
Debbie's kill was a callback to Kevin Bacon, his kill. If you do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
The thing I remember most about that scene though is the Fangoria issue that she was reading. I actually got two copies of it. One from when I was a kid, and then I bought another one when I had Tracy come in to Scarefest. It's the one with the Dragon Slayer on the front of it, which is an old movie. But there's a lot of type Tom Savini article in there, I believe, which was a callback to that too. Kevin Bacon murder. There's also like I think it was the 25th Godzilla anniversary issue too, if I'm not mistaken. I always thought though that was really cool because like when I watched it, when she dies and she's looking through the Fangoria thing, that was before the internet. So, it was all print. And I was like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And then it leads right into like one of the best deaths ever, which is Andy while he's doing a
Oh,
handstand. David Cadams, we had him last time. and he played, oh my God, what Chuck
The Cheech and Chong comic relief characters that we had.
was so good. Like it just played off of each other so well. And then like the van, I spent so many hours trying to find a van that was similar to that, and
Really?
I never could find it. Yeah, that whole movie, just like when you go through like the dynamic of it all, when they bring in the biker gang and the biker gang tracks them down, and then you've got like all the scenes in the barn, and then like how he systematically like kills all the bikers. To me, it's one of the holy grails of Friday movies. Everybody's kind of got their favorites, and I think it just depends. This one definitely, I think it's got some of the best kills. Catherine Parks, who gets the spear through the eye.
I didn't know until many years later that the MPAA, with the rating system, kept having them pull back. Otherwise, it was going to, at the time, get an X rating. So that in order to satisfy the MPAA, they had to really, really chop out a ton of like the extra blood. Like I guess Debbie's death was supposed to be more gory. Shelley's throat slash, that was supposed
Oh
to
yeah,
be have
yeah,
more
yeah.
gore. But I honestly, I don't feel like every movie has to have a ton of gore to have an impact. This is one of them. I felt that it was fine as is. It didn't need blood pooling on the floor for it to
No,
satisfy
it
me as a
didn't have.
horror fan.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have to go like full Evil Dead.
Right.
Like I thought the kills were a lot better in what they were doing. It was all spaced out, and then how like everything like comes together. Like it kind of follows a formula, like from movie to movie.
Right.
But this one had a lot more character development. You were engaged in what was happening to them. As a lot of times, like people just get shoved into it,
True. Yeah.
and you know you don't really have Larry's scene. I was invested in that character. I was invested in all of them, like watching it play out. And yeah, to me, like that was one of the big selling points of the movie.
He's coming after her and she's like, no, it can't be. No. I just feel like that's one of the most memorable scenes where she was just terrified of him and him lifting that mask, smiling at her and
Yeah.
like pulling it back down. I mean, everyone talks about the fourth one and I'm not dismissing the fourth one at all because I like the fourth one too. But I feel like the third one just has a certain something to it, a little more campy or something maybe. And with the music that plays throughout it. It's just perfect.
I remember the exact scene that won me over with that movie. And it's when Shelley and Vera are at the gas station and he's pulling off and he's like, they've gone too far. And then he turns around, like just runs the bikes over. And then the guy like gets out there and like smiles in the windshield and then breaks it. Like I fell in love with that movie at that moment. I don't know why. That's just the way it is. I was sold. Just like the way that I am with like certain songs, there's songs that you can listen on repeat and not get tired of. Part three is the equivalent of a movie for me. I could watch it back to back. The opening part, like the homeless guy with the eyeball, like the whole thing with the store. See, I just as we're talking, like little snippets like pop back in my mind. When he's playing with the yo-yo and it's 3D,
Yeah.
and like Tracy is like laying on her back, and you just like you have the yo-yo coming at you, and then oh, gosh, I need to rewatch this like 20 more times. Um, I'm counting the days until Scarlett can watch it.
This ranks right along with Scream for me. So you know Scream I've seen, I can't even tell you dozens of times. This is even for me with Scream. That's how I feel about it. Like it's just that rewatchable for me.
But I can also watch part eight on repeat too. And not very many people will say that. But we have a kinship amongst ourselves of part eight lovers that will watch it on repeat. But part three is also another one I can do that with.
She wanted her character to have a clean image. So scenes of like sexual innuendos maybe or drug use, that kind of thing. She really didn't want her character to do any of that. So some things did have to be rewritten to accommodate that.
A lot of her roles, like over the years, it's her religion and how she interprets roles that she'll take.
I was trying to think of all of the final girls that are in the franchise kind of do follow a straight line with things though. They're not the ones
Well,
that you see
well,
topless and
no,
stuff.
well, you have to, or else you're automatically dead.
Yeah,
Like
if you're
that's
going by
the
the tropes.
yeah. As much as you love Scream, I mean, there's a formula to that.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. All right. So you have a good night. Everyone else, definitely buy your tickets to see Dana Kimmel.